Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 9 of King City. Now if you're new here, this is the first time I'm playing Cities Skylines, and therefore King City is the first city I'm attempting to build. Now just to follow up from last episode, most of the buildings we zoned in this area are now built, and just look at that view. That's exactly what I was going for. I wanted these apartments to have the waterfront view. I will also be adding more buildings in the front, but nothing too tall, just so we have the view from all of the apartments. These are the offices that I put down. They're all high density. Now in terms of the layout, this will change. These are temporary for the most part, but we'll see. And this is that interchange that we made where we have two of our highways ending. Well, one of them's ending at the original highway that comes with the map here. Seems to be flowing fine, which is good. And then this is just another little interchange going into the new area of our city. We do have some backup here, but it's understandable. Nothing too crazy. And then this is the other interchange that we made, and it seems to be working fine on the highway at least. And then this street underneath has some problem, but a lot of it does go away once the game keeps on going. So it's probably just all the people trying to move in once you zone the places. And we just went ahead and put some trees at this interchange that we had. Just wanted it to look a bit more proper and finished. And we had a very bad traffic problem here, but seems to be fine now, so that's good. Always happy for that. And let's get back to zoning some more apartments. So for this area, it was pretty important for me to keep the street layout the same, just because I wanted a certain amount of tiles to be available to zone. And what I do is I basically go in the empty spaces in front of the buildings that we already have and try to zone that. And then once you do that, every other street you have this kind of pattern, and none of the buildings are obstructed this way. And also in terms of height and density, obviously we are toning down as we're getting closer to the water. So we have the most dense and tallest buildings to the back, and then it just keeps coming down as you move forward. Now, I'm not too sure how I want the area with the offices to look, to be honest. I've just been kind of extending the street and doing high density offices. But what I did decide was that I wasn't going to have any high density offices beyond the street right there. So I did remove the zoning for them. But again, it's kind of just a process that I have to see as we play the game. Because I never had this many office buildings. I would zone like a few high density ones. I wouldn't do like a whole row. So it is kind of difficult for me to really find the right street layout. And I definitely do want to go in later and with some sort of public transit there. We'll most likely be putting in the metro or subway, whichever you call it. Just because it'll be more fitting for this area and this amount of density. And that is basically what I had in mind from the beginning of the game, that I would put in the subway where we have a lot more density in comparison to the rest of the city that we built so far. And for this area with the apartments, you're gonna see me go back and forth many times just because I was trying to get the right angle in terms of height for the buildings as they come down. So the ones that I just zoned here, I'll be removing these later because they seem too tiny in comparison to the ones across them. So I hope you don't get annoyed with me. The apartments we just zoned, in terms of height, you see how short and tiny they are, especially in comparison to the ones across the street. So that's what I was saying. I'm just going to be going back and forth, trying to figure out how many different buildings we have. So basically, I was going in with different amount of tiles, and I wanted to get a hang on the different style and height of buildings we would get from the high density zoning. So after having all of these high density offices built here, what I realized is that you can barely see the streets that run in between them. And I didn't want to necessarily go in and have the whole area be covered by these buildings. So I thought it would make sense and it would look good to have this park here in between all the high buildings. And hopefully all the people working in the offices can appreciate these open spaces and maybe use them on their lunch break or something. I don't know. I do try to use the parks from the game, even though they all look the same, but I know they have some sort of an effect on the overall happiness of the residents. So I do want to take that into consideration once I'm building all these parks around the city. And we're doing another park on this side, very similar in terms of style and location. It's not necessarily identical to that one, just because the street layout, even though it looks the same from above, it is different in terms of size and angles. And I don't necessarily want streets that are perfect in this area or in the majority of the city, to be honest. Just because I don't know, I prefer a little bit of difference in terms of street layouts. In my opinion, that makes cities a bit more interesting and unique, and it kind of gives them their own identity. Because sometimes when the streets are a bit too well planned, just in terms of layout, and they all tend to look the same, it can come off as soulless. And you do tend to see that with a lot of new developments, and actually many cities around the world, even ones that have very architecturally significant centers. You kind of get away from the center and all you see is the same generic type of buildings and street layouts. Now I understand it's much more functional and it is built to new standards, but a lot of the times the projects are very money driven to an extent that other things such as the public realm, they take the back burner and they aren't really emphasized as much as they used to be. It's all about getting the project done, making money on it, and who cares who lives there, right? I feel like we can always do better. No matter how good we think we're doing, we can always do better. And we can always do better with our cities. After we finish building the parks, I realized that we have a problem with electricity and we're having bottlenecks yet again. If you've been following this channel, you know that that problem is not foreign to our city. We have experienced it multiple times, and that is why I went in and placed a new gas power plant again on this new part of the city, just so we don't have to solely rely on the ones that we already have. Now, coming back to this area, I did like this new building more than the ones that we'd already put down. So unfortunately, I went ahead and removed all the ones that we had zoned before, and I am going with the 4x3 tiles instead, specifically for this row of buildings. I just feel like when it comes to the height transition between the buildings across the street and these ones, the ones that are 3x4 do a better job. I am also putting some affordable apartments on that street, and again going in with some more offices. Now, to be honest, I do find the demand for offices a bit too high at this point. I'm not sure what the reason behind that could be, but I also want to go ahead and zone them while I have the demand, just so we can continue the growth of the city. I don't really want to stall anything. But in terms of location, they are subject to change at any point. We just have to see. And here I went in with a fire station. Same deal with this guy. I just put it down because I want the city to continue growing. I don't want it to stall in because it lacks the different types of services. But in terms of location, I might be moving them around. So one thing our city lacks and has a shortage of are the number of elementary schools we have. I mean, as soon as I put these guys down, they are filled to the limit, and I'm not quite sure what I need to do. I mean, I just need to put down more, but there is a serious shortage. So I ended up making this little street here into just a school zone. I'll be putting 3 here and then 2 more later on, just because by the time I finished this little area and I checked the capacity, it was maxed out and there was no space left. And obviously I go in and put in all the upgrades. They add about like a few hundred seats for students. I think around 500, I'm not sure. But yeah, I went in with these schools and I put some parks around, and I connected it to the surrounding schools with the paths. Just try to make it into a pleasant area to walk around and have access from all the streets around. But again, once I finished it and checked the school limits, they were fully packed. So I put in two more again, two or three more. And then I'll be putting some more later on in the episode. But all of them, I think it'll be 9 in total if I'm not mistaken. All 9 will be filled with students. So I guess we just got to keep on putting more schools. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of kids. These apartments are now fully built on that street. So we are going in with the final and last street here, and the zoning is going to be all 2x2 small medium density apartments. They'll be the shortest in terms of height, and I think they will accomplish what we were going for pretty well. The area will be done in terms of zoning, so the rest is just going to be some final touches such as trees and pathways and maybe a few parks, but we'll leave that for future episodes. As I said, we are going back into the school zone and putting down a few more schools. Now, in terms of how realistic this is, I'm not sure because each of these buildings are a few stories tall. So to have a street with 6 of them on it, it's probably not the most realistic situation we have. But again, we need the schools. We have the demand for it. So I do have to put it somewhere. Might as well put them in the same area. But we'll also be putting a few other schools. We'll be going with a different building, not this one. I think 3 more in another area close to each other. And we'll see if we need more. And if we do, we gotta keep putting them down. I also remembered we have this unfinished area up here in the suburbs, and I thought we can go in and just finish this little section. It's gonna be all single family homes, nothing too special. I also have some good news for our public transit. Now, last time we checked the trams, there was a usage of 28%, and now we are up at 44%, which is a great improvement. But guys, this street going onto the old part of the city, it's a complete mess, so we will definitely need to put in some more connections into the other part of the city, because that street is just overwhelmed with cars. And then you have the trams and buses on the road by the waterfront. There is also an insane amount of pedestrians walking all over the place. There was an instance that there were so many pedestrians trying to cross the street that neither the buses or the trams could get through, so we had just buses and trams lined up right behind each other. They just couldn't pass through the area. So something definitely needs to be done there. Now, after I recorded all this gameplay here, I did go in and put in this pedestrian bridge, a very small one over the most crowded part. I mean, did it work? Kinda. But we'll continue to monitor that area and see how we can improve it. I am also going into this area and finishing the street network. I just want a few different points of access so one street isn't overwhelmed. And as you may have seen, I am going back into our apartments and changing the zoning once again, just because I want those apartments in the middle, some of them to be taller. So I am gonna playing around with the different types of buildings we have available, and I end up changing that one of the streets completely with a new type of zoning. It's going to be the street, this one, the one inside. So there are all these 2x2 high density buildings, and here I just tested and saw that if you do 3x4 you would also get a different style building. So I went in here and changed all of the zoning. So again, all of this is for the greater good. We are trying to achieve a better area aesthetically, just one that makes more sense. And that is why I had to go in several times trying to figure out which type of zoning fits what street best. And I wanted to avoid having repetitive buildings on the different streets. I wanted each of them to be kind of unique. So yeah, I tried to basically achieve that as much as possible. I am also creating this new area. This is going to be mostly smaller tiles of high density apartments, and so they will be similar in style. And again, it's just to fill in the demand. And I do want to make this new part of the city mostly dense apartments as much as possible. We'll see how much we can go with that. And here I am once again back on the street and changing the zoning. So residents in this part of the city were waiting on hearses to arrive, and apparently it was taking too long. They are for some reason obsessed with that. I mean, you can't really say they're obsessed with it. People die and they need it. But anyway, we are going in with a new crematorium. We're actually putting down 3 here. so there is good access for the residents in this section of the town. And at least I'm happy that the buildings look good, to be honest. You could kind of say there's something else. I don't know what, but yeah, whatever. I put down 3 here, put some upgrades and 2 on the either end. So hopefully we'll be good in terms of crematoriums for now. But you never know. This game loves to demand hearses, so. Alright, so I did make a little mistake. I built this road in the area with the apartments by the waterfront, and it ended up kind of ruining the zoning for one of the buildings. And even though I removed the road, the zoning was messed up and the building was condemned. So I had to exit the game after playing for an hour, and I basically lost a whole lot of gameplay. But whatever, there is absolutely nothing I can do. So what I'm doing here is going in again and trying to copy kind of everything I did. But obviously that's kind of hard to do. So I will just go off my head and do what feels right and see what happens. But that actually annoyed me quite a lot. It was the night before, so I ended up just shutting the computer down because I just didn't want to play anymore, to be honest. And yep, now back to the schools. As you saw, I just put 3 schools there, and I ended up getting rid of all the zoning for offices north of that street there. It was just too overwhelming and too much. And I'm going in with some new streets in between the existing ones. And we're making a new connection here to this new area, which is going to be mostly smaller tile sizes of high density apartments. And for the new streets that we put in between the offices, they'll be zoned with high density office buildings. Now I went ahead and put some new streets in the area, and I did cut it out just because I don't want the episodes to be too boring. But we're going in and adding more offices. Now, again, I don't know. I don't really know what I'm doing with the offices here. I'm just extending this one street and doing high density offices. But if at any point I feel like they need to be removed for something else, I have no problem doing that, as I've done before. Whether it is new streets that need to be connected like this one, or if I just don't like how they look, I'll just go ahead and remove the zoning. But for now we'll leave it in and we'll cover the demand for them. And we're just doing these apartments right here. I'm trying to get them all the same size, just because they're on that little circular street. I think it will look good once they get built. And here is where I realized we basically have no postal services and mailing services in this area. So I went in with this large building here, the post office. I don't know if it's a post office, but it's pretty large. We hadn't put this one down yet. Now again, with everything else in this area, the location of it is subject to change. We just have to see where other things have to go. And I did put this small post office here by these high-rise towers because they basically had absolutely no postal services. Okay, so I did zone that little section of the street with high density commercial, and I thought it'd be nice to go in with one of the signature commercial buildings too, and I decided to go with this one. And the reason why I made that little curved street there, I wanted the building to stand out on its own. I didn't want to put it right beside the regular commercial zoning. And then I am going to go in with a lot of pathways and trees all around it to give it this unique feeling. So this would be like a unique shopping district, I guess. And I will go in and put some more commercial around this area. But for this section in the middle here, we're going to do just pathways and walkways with trees all around. This will make it different from the rest of the buildings around. I will also be putting in 2 parks here from the game. And again, the reason behind that is to attract people here. Just because if you put the pathways down, you're just going to have people from the area walking on it. But I'm assuming if you put in the parks from the game, that'll be an attraction of itself. So we will be putting those 2 in. And if you think about it, I personally really like places where you can walk around to the different businesses and not necessarily have to get into a car. So that is kind of what I'm trying to achieve here. You'll have all these walkways and parks right here, and then you have retail on different sides of the street. So I think it'll be a nice place to go for shopping. Now, in continuation of our parks and our shopping district, I did want to go ahead with another park, if you can call this. This is kind of like a plaza mixed with a park. I did place it right across the first park we made in this area, and I went in with pedestrian streets all around it, and I'm just making these connections to the surrounding streets. So, what I had in mind for this area was to go in with small businesses and commercial buildings, small but high density. Because what I find annoying with low density commercial spaces, especially if you do smaller sizes, you get like repetitive petrol and gas stations all around. And that is definitely not what we're going for here. We do not want gas stations here. I just want this area to be a kind of like a mall of some sort, but outdoor mall. So I'm gonna go in with 2x2 tiles and just zone them with high density commercial. Now I originally zoned the inner part, but I will go ahead and remove that and do the outer street that we have. Now the only thing I do dislike about this idea is that once I finished zoning them and they were built in, we were getting like huge trucks going on the pedestrian street to get to the businesses. Now I might go in later on and ban any heavy traffic from coming into the area, but we'll see how that goes. But what I do like is there's already people walking on the pedestrian streets, and I'm sure once we have all the businesses moving, there's going to be more people walking and shopping in the area. So here we have one of the first businesses moving in. Now at one point I went in and placed one of the signature commercial buildings here. It was some sort of like a special store. But I saw these semi trucks leaving the business and I'm like, I don't want these here. So I ended up removing it again. But what I realized is that even these ones, the regular zonings, commercial zonings, they have semi trucks coming to them as well. So maybe I should have just left it in. We'll see. Maybe I'll go back in and put it. This is the building I was talking about. I thought it would be nice to have this here, but as soon as I put it in, we had these trucks coming out. So I'm like, I don't really want that here. I went back with the regular commercial zoning, but those ones have the trucks too, so maybe we should have kept it. I don't know. And I was just trying to go in with some other stuff, just smaller buildings. This one was nice. I just didn't like the wall on the right side. It was kind of just cut off. So I went in with this diner and this tea house. Both, I just think they fit into the area well, and it makes sense to have these places by this park. I didn't want anything too overwhelming because I feel like it would take away from the whole purpose of the area. But yeah, just making some more connections and putting in some more small retail spaces. I am going with the European ones for the inner part, and the area is kind of coming together. And this was kind of another area that I just ended up cutting out that I made. We just have 5 high density towers. Nothing special, but it adds to the density. Now in our whole city, we only have one hospital. The rest are just smaller clinics. So I thought it would be time to go in with another hospital here. This one, we hadn't put it down anywhere in the city. And I went ahead and moved that postal office a bit and created this loop here. And we're going in with the hospital, the city hospital, I think that's what it's called. And obviously we're doing all the upgrades. I also went ahead and put in some small clinics right in front of the hospital. This way it makes it look like they're part of the same place and function together. So, and the point behind that was to make sure we are covering the demand for the city. Also because we have such a great density here. Now we are just putting in some of the last commercial zonings in this little commercial district, and everything's coming together. Now I will go in later on and add some trees along the pathways, but I'll probably do that off camera just because I did quite a lot of tree placements today. But the area seems to be a successful commercial district. We have a whole lot of people walking on these pathways, and I assume they're using the businesses. Now coming here to this residential area, we're just gonna go in with a new street here, and I'll be putting in some amenities. This will probably be only used by the locals here. We're gonna do some basketball courts and some parks, and obviously connect all of them together. So the reason why I use the same park over and over is to give the area a feeling of cohesiveness. I want it to seem like it's one park as a whole rather than many small ones. And it was built with the intent of it to look the same. So I think it looks better like this, except the dog park that we put in the middle. We did go with the same park and the same basketball courts. And then obviously we have the walking pathways in the middle. And not sure if you heard, but we also have my cat who is screaming at me in the background. So I probably gotta start wrapping up this episode as well, just cause he's lost his patience with me. And I'm just finishing the walking pathway to the school zone, which is pretty good. They'll have access to the new park. The park seems to be getting used quite a lot right from the beginning, so that's all good. And this guy is complaining of not having enough customers, but whatever, that signature building. Now, before we end this episode, one last thing is I'm gonna go and create this new street here right behind the commercial buildings that we have, and I'm gonna go ahead and zone them with mostly small tile, high density European buildings. I think it will look cool right behind all the commercial buildings, just having all that residential, and we'll put some paths so they can walk to the area and hopefully get their shopping down. I do believe this is going to be an area which is probably expensive and high demand to live in, just because you have a lot of shopping very close by. You can just walk there, and other people would probably have to drive or travel to get to this place. So alright, so all that being said, we are going to wrap this episode up just because my cat screamed at me once again. Now, a special thanks to anyone who's watched this far into the video. I truly do appreciate it. We will be continuing this series of King City, and hopefully we'll have more and more episodes coming out. And if you're curious to see how our city got to this point, you can always head over to my channel and go through my videos. I have basically every step documented. And that being said, thanks again and all the best.